The media shows you two versions of Malaysia. Western media portrays it as a developing nation with corruption problems and authoritarian tendencies. Tourism marketing shows tropical beaches, friendly people, and multicultural harmony. Both narratives miss something crucial. I've studied Malaysia's geopolitical positioning for years. I've analyzed its economic strategies, interviewed policy experts, talked to business leaders operating across Southeast Asia. And there's a power Malaysia wields that neither Western analysts nor tourism boards want you to understand. Because once you see it, you realize Malaysia is playing a completely different game than everyone assumes. This isn't pro-Malaysia propaganda or anti-Western bias. This is the unfiltered reality of how a mid-sized nation with limited military power and modest GDP became one of the most strategically important countries in the region, not through force, not through wealth, but through a form of power so subtle, most people don't even recognize it exists. By the end, you'll understand the real source of Malaysia's influence, and why countries far wealthier and more powerful can't replicate what Malaysia has built. Let's expose Malaysia's hidden power that nobody talks about. The hidden power, strategic indispensability through quiet necessity. Malaysia doesn't have nuclear weapons. It doesn't have a massive military. It's not the richest country in the region. It doesn't dominate through force or financial leverage like traditional powers do. Malaysia's power is different. Malaysia made itself quietly necessary to everyone, and that necessity gives it leverage traditional power metrics completely miss. This power operates in three domains: economic infrastructure, geopolitical positioning, and cultural soft power. Each domain creates dependencies other nations didn't realize they had until they tried to work around Malaysia and discovered they couldn't. The real power: Malaysia doesn't force compliance through strength. It creates situations where other nations need Malaysian cooperation to achieve their own goals. And that need is Malaysia's leverage. Domain number 1. Economic infrastructure control nobody notices. Malaysia controls critical economic infrastructure that global supply chains depend on, but rarely acknowledge publicly. Semiconductor supply chains. Malaysia handles 13% of global semiconductor testing and packaging. You can manufacture chips in Taiwan, America, or Europe, but significant portions still route through Malaysian facilities for testing and final packaging. Over 50 major semiconductor companies, Intel, AMD, Infineon, Texas Instruments, ST Microelectronics, operate critical facilities in Malaysia. Malaysia positioned itself as the indispensable middle link in semiconductor supply chains, explains tech industry analyst Robert Chen. You can't just bypass Malaysia if there's disruption. The testing and packaging capacity doesn't exist elsewhere at scale. That gives Malaysia negotiating leverage with both China and the West that nobody anticipated from a developing nation. The US-China tech war focuses on chip manufacturing. Both sides need Malaysian capacity. Malaysia didn't pick sides. It made itself necessary to both sides. That's not weakness. That's strategic genius. Islamic finance infrastructure. Malaysia built the world's most sophisticated Islamic finance ecosystem. The largest sukuk market. The dominant halal certification system. The premier Islamic banking expertise. When any nation wants to tap the $4+ trillion Islamic finance market, serving 1.8 billion Muslims, they go through Malaysian systems and expertise. Western banks tried entering Islamic finance. They failed. The institutional knowledge, regulatory frameworks, and market trust took Malaysia decades to build, and competitors can't replicate it by hiring consultants. Port and logistics infrastructure. Malaysia's ports, particularly Port Klang and Tanjung Pelepah, are critical nodes in Asia-Pacific shipping routes. Bypass them? Possible. Efficient? No. Malaysia's geographic position and port infrastructure make it the natural logistics hub for trade flowing through the Malacca Strait, one of the world's most important shipping lanes. The real power: Malaysia doesn't control these sectors through monopoly. It controls them through being the most efficient, most developed, most reliable option. Other choices exist, but they're worse. That's structural leverage. Domain number 2. Geopolitical non-alignment as strategic asset. Most nations pick sides. Allies with America or China. Western Bloc or Asian Bloc. The binary choice. Malaysia refuses. And that refusal became its superpower. Malaysia maintains strong economic ties with China. China is Malaysia's largest trading partner. Malaysia simultaneously maintains security partnerships with the US and participates in Western-led initiatives. Malaysia trades with everyone, allies with no one exclusively, and extracts benefits from all sides by staying strategically flexible. Malaysia's non-alignment frustrates Western strategists because they're used to binary choices, notes international relations expert Dr. Ahmad Karim. But Malaysia's approach is sophisticated. They're not neutral, they're strategically flexible. They cooperate with whoever offers the best deal on any given issue while maintaining relationships with everyone. This positioning gives Malaysia negotiating power with both superpowers. China can't take Malaysian support for granted. If China pushes too hard, Malaysia has alternatives. America can't assume Malaysian compliance. If America demands too much, Malaysia shifts toward China. Both superpowers compete for Malaysian cooperation, which means Malaysia gets better deals from both. During the Ukraine conflict, Western nations demanded developing nations pick sides. Malaysia didn't. Malaysia condemned aggression but maintained relationships with Russia while supporting humanitarian efforts. Western media criticized this as fence-sitting. Malaysian leadership understood it as preserving options. Small nations that pick sides become dependent on their protector, explains geopolitical analyst Dr. Sarah Martinez. Malaysia avoided that trap. They're dependent on no one because they're valuable to everyone. That's not weakness. That's the strongest position a mid-sized nation can achieve. The real power, Malaysia's non-alignment, isn't indecision or cowardice. It's strategic positioning that prevents great powers from taking Malaysia for granted, and that forces them to compete for Malaysian cooperation. Domain number 3, cultural soft power through functional multiculturalism. This is Malaysia's most underestimated power, and the one Western nations fail to understand despite spending billions trying to replicate it. Malaysia is 69% Malay, 23% Chinese, 7% Indian, plus indigenous groups. 3 major religions, multiple languages. This diversity is deeper and more complex than Western multicultural societies. Yet Malaysia maintains functional social cohesion, while Western nations with less diversity are fracturing. Malaysia's multiculturalism isn't perfect. Structural inequality exists through Bumiputera policies. But day-to-day social harmony functions at levels Western nations cannot achieve. Interethnic violence is virtually non-existent. Different communities celebrate each other's festivals. Malaysians of different races work together, eat together, build businesses together. Malaysia's model of multiculturalism works because it's honest about difference, explains sociologist Dr. Priya Nair. Western models demand assimilation disguised as integration. Malaysia acknowledges distinct communities, protects their rights constitutionally, and builds frameworks for coexistence. It's messier. It works better. This creates soft power advantages. Regional credibility. Malaysia can mediate regional disputes because it represents no single ethnic or religious bloc. Thailand sees Malaysia as partially Buddhist-friendly. Indonesia sees Malaysia as Muslim majority. China sees Malaysia's Chinese community as a bridge. India sees Malaysia's Indian community the same way. Malaysia becomes the natural mediator because everyone sees something of themselves in Malaysia. Islamic finance legitimacy. Malaysia's Islamic finance dominance works partly because Malaysia is Muslim majority, but also multicultural and economically modern. Conservative Islamic nations trust Malaysia's Islamic credentials. Western nations trust Malaysia's economic sophistication. That dual credibility is unique. Development model attraction. Developing nations with ethnic diversity look at Malaysia as proof that multiculturalism can work without Western-style forced assimilation or authoritarian suppression of differences. Malaysia becomes a template for nations rejecting both Western and Chinese models. The real power, Malaysia's functional multiculturalism, makes it valuable as a bridge between different cultural, religious, and ethnic communities. A role no monoethnic nation can play and no fractured Western multicultural society successfully replicates. How this power actually works. Case studies. Abstract descriptions miss how this power operates in practice. Let's examine specific cases where Malaysia's hidden power influenced outcomes. Case number 1. US-China tech decoupling. When America and China began tech decoupling, both sides assumed they'd control semiconductor supply chains by controlling manufacturing. both sides missed that Malaysian testing and packaging facilities were critical bottlenecks. Malaysia didn't publicly threaten to disrupt supply chains. Malaysia didn't need to. Both American and Chinese companies quietly lobbied their governments to maintain Malaysian cooperation because disrupting Malaysian operations would hurt both sides. Result: Malaysia extracted investment commitments from both America and China to expand semiconductor facilities in Malaysia. Both superpowers competed to ensure Malaysian cooperation, which meant Malaysia got better deals from both. Malaysia never threatened anyone, notes tech policy expert David Wong. They just quietly let both sides realize they needed Malaysia more than Malaysia needed to pick a side. That's leverage without confrontation. Case number 2. Islamic finance growth. Western financial institutions assumed they could enter Islamic finance markets by creating Islamic windows, subsidiary divisions offering Sharia-compliant products. They assumed capital and brand recognition would win. They failed because Islamic finance requires deep institutional knowledge, regulatory expertise, and market trust. Malaysia spent decades building this. Western banks couldn't buy their way in. Result: any institution wanting significant Islamic finance operations partners with Malaysian firms, uses Malaysian expertise, or operates through Malaysian systems. Malaysia doesn't monopolize the market. It just offers the best infrastructure, and everyone knows it. Case number 3. ASEAN leadership. ASEAN has 10 members. Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and Vietnam all have arguments for regional leadership. Malaysia isn't the largest, richest, or most powerful. Yet Malaysia consistently plays outsized diplomatic roles in ASEAN because other members trust Malaysian neutrality. Thailand and Vietnam see Malaysia as not pro-China. Singapore and the Philippines see Malaysia as not pro-West. Indonesia trusts Malaysia as fellow Muslim-majority nation. Everyone trusts Malaysia won't use ASEAN leadership for narrow national advantage. Malaysia's power in ASEAN is being the least threatening member, explains regional diplomat Dr. Hassan Rahman. Nobody fears Malaysian domination. That makes Malaysia the natural mediator and consensus builder. That's power through trust, not through force. The real power: Malaysia's influence comes from being necessary, trusted, and strategically flexible, qualities that can't be bought or built through traditional military or economic might. Why other nations can't replicate this power? Singapore tried. Singapore has better infrastructure, higher GDP per capita, and more efficient governance. But Singapore's power is different. It's the power of efficiency and financial sophistication, not the power of indispensability across multiple domains. Singapore can be bypassed. Companies and nations can route around Singapore if needed. Malaysia's semiconductor facilities, Islamic finance infrastructure, and geopolitical positioning can't be easily bypassed because alternatives don't exist at comparable scale and efficiency. Thailand tried. Thailand has size, location, and cultural soft power through tourism. But Thailand's political instability undermines the trust and reliability necessary for the kind of power Malaysia built. Nations need partners they can rely on long-term. Thailand's coups and political chaos make it an unreliable partner. Vietnam tried. Vietnam's manufacturing boom attracted massive investment. But Vietnam picked sides, heavily pro-West. That limits Vietnam's flexibility and makes it dependent on Western support against China. Malaysia's non-alignment gives it options Vietnam doesn't have. Indonesia should have this power. It's the largest ASEAN nation, most populous Muslim-majority country, and regional heavyweight. But Indonesia's domestic focus and bureaucratic inefficiency prevented it from building the infrastructure and positioning Malaysia achieved. Indonesia has potential power. Malaysia has actual power. Malaysia succeeded because it executed consistently over decades while staying strategically flexible, explains development economist Dr. Jennifer Walsh. Other nations either failed to execute, picked sides too early, or never built the institutional capacity Malaysia developed. You can't replicate decades of strategic positioning quickly. The real power, Malaysia's hidden power, isn't about resources or geography. It's about strategic choices executed consistently over time. Other nations could theoretically build similar power, but none did. Malaysia did. We want to hear from you right now. Have you seen Malaysia's hidden power in action? Do you think we're overstating its influence, or is this analysis accurate? If you're from a country trying to build similar strategic positioning, What's the biggest challenge? If you're from a great power that needs Malaysian cooperation, does this analysis match your experience? Drop your honest thoughts, agree or disagree completely. That's what this community is for. The limitations, what Malaysia's hidden power can't do. Malaysia's power has real limits. This isn't a superpower. This is strategic influence, and it only works in specific contexts. Malaysia can't defend itself militarily against serious threats. If a major power wanted to invade Malaysia, Malaysian military forces couldn't stop them. Malaysia's power is influence and leverage, not military defense. Malaysia relies on regional partnerships and international norms for security. Malaysia can't control outcomes unilaterally. Malaysia can influence, facilitate, mediate, but it can't dictate. Superpowers have the luxury of imposing solutions. Malaysia must negotiate and persuade. Malaysia's power requires maintaining trust and neutrality. If Malaysia picks sides too explicitly, the power dissolves. If Malaysia proves untrustworthy or unreliable, nations rout around Malaysian systems. The power is fragile. It depends on Malaysia continuing to be valuable to all sides. Malaysia can't scale this power indefinitely. As other nations develop competing infrastructure, Malaysia's indispensability decreases. As geopolitical tensions force binary choices, Malaysia's non-alignment becomes harder to maintain. The power works now, but faces pressures that could undermine it over time. The real limitation: Malaysia's hidden power is effective but bounded. It's the power of a mid-sized nation maximizing its strategic position, not the power of a great nation imposing its will. The uncomfortable truth: Malaysia's hidden power exists because Malaysia succeeded where others failed, building indispensable infrastructure, maintaining trusted neutrality, and executing strategic positioning consistently over decades. This power doesn't come from Malaysia being special or superior. It comes from Malaysia making smart strategic choices, executing them well, and avoiding the mistakes other nations made. Other nations could theoretically build similar power. They don't, because building this kind of power requires patience, strategic flexibility, and willingness to resist pressure from great powers demanding you pick sides. Most nations can't resist that pressure. They pick sides for short-term security or economic benefits. They sacrifice strategic flexibility for immediate gains. Malaysia didn't. That patience and flexibility became Malaysia's hidden power. The power is real. It's measurable in economic outcomes, diplomatic influence, and regional positioning. But it's hidden because it doesn't look like traditional power, so analysts trained to recognize military might and economic dominance miss it entirely. We want to hear from you. Do you think Malaysia's hidden power is sustainable long-term? Will geopolitical pressures force Malaysia to pick sides? Or will Malaysia maintain this positioning for decades more? Share your analysis: strategic, skeptical, or supportive. Agree or disagree with our assessment. If this exposed a form of power you didn't recognize existed, smash that like button and subscribe.